Now, the main attraction of the rally days always seems to be the march, which is understandable because the TPR march in Brisbane is beyond anything happening in any other city in the country. And that's because of the people here that keep turning up. And it's never just Brisbane folks. It's people from all over Queensland travelling up to 20 hours in one direction to be here in the capital. And it's in fact many Victorians and New South Wales people that come and join us too. The front of the march absolutely pumps. So if you want to make some noise, get down to the front. But I want loud, noisy, active people at the front. And if you want to have a more of a chilled out walk, head towards the middle and the back and make some noise still. Now, Brisbane's last line of defence is this country. And that is why the People's Revolution is ramping up and more people are jumping on board. These events are extremely important in building our numbers. These events today, guys, they're extremely important in building our numbers, raising the morale and creating momentum. All of which, without a war, becomes impossible to win. If you had 100 people that were confident, had high morale, had heaps of momentum, fighting a war against 1,000 people that are down in the dumps, depressed, didn't believe in what they were fighting for, those 100 people would wipe the floor with them. That's the team we were creating, so when it comes down to it, we're going to whoop everybody that comes and tries to oppose us. But I want everybody to be patient and realise that marching on a Saturday on a sunny afternoon will not win this war by itself. Busting your guts during the week to make small differences as individuals, that will help win this war. Opening your mouth and having those conversations with ordinary, everyday people you meet at the shops or in your travels, that will help win the war. Taking part in non-violent guerrilla warfare tactics like I described earlier, that's going to help win the war. Such as propaganda pieces of our own aimed at the truth, that will help win the war. Letterbox drops, flyers, bed sheets hanging over highways with hard hidden messages. Everywhere you look, there's a message. You can't go to work without seeing a bed sheet on the highway. We're around and we're spreading the truth. That will help win this war. Putting pressure on our sellout politicians will help win the war. Speaking of which, we all know if you vote for Labor or Liberal, you're asking for the same old SHIT and nothing's going to change. And the Greens, sellouts. But guys, do not vote for One Nation, all right? Now, some may perceive this as being negative, but it needs to be said, so stick with me on this. Pauline Hanson pretended to be part of a truckie blockade on the M1, which was simply a One Nation publicity stunt by Pauline Hanson and Malcolm Roberts, in which they want to vote from both sides of the fence. On one hand, they were there pretending to support the truckies and our movement, but claiming they support the blockade, which was meant to last up to 3 weeks until our demands were met. Demands which Malcolm Roberts' office shied away from and were too scared to back it when it came to time to put pen on paper. And I know this because my team sent them the paperwork to sign. They were behind it, but they didn't have the balls to sign it. Pauline and Malcolm are all talk. A distraction to this movement, and they need to be put to bed. Do not vote for One Nation. At the truckie blockade, when Pauline was asked if she thought it was possible that COVID was being used to implement a new society, just possible, that was implement a new society built on control and surveillance, she said that was a conspiracy, and she's not going to, and that's the idea she's not going to entertain. So in essence, Pauline is not going to entertain the truth. Maybe we'll get her in trouble with her puppet masters. Because after only one death in 2021 from COVID-19, listen in, one death in 2021 in Queensland from COVID-19, one. We're still being locked in our homes, we're still being forced to wear masks, we're still under heavy restrictions. It's obviously not about health. But Pauline says it's a conspiracy to think that there is a hidden agenda here. What rubbish, what a rubbish thing to say, Pauline, you're a disappointment. I know you're watching, and Malcolm too. I know you're watching, guys. Pathetic. Sellouts. So after just 1 hour at the truckie blockade, Pauline manipulated the truckies, and they moved the trucks, failing the Australian people. Pauline's line, and I witnessed this, was don't affect the hard-working Aussies, move your trucks and let them through. She got her face on camera, pretended to be there for the movement at the start, then after an hour, also being the hero and removing the block for everyday mainstreamers. A vote from each side of the fence, typical political scam. And I got played too, I'll admit that, and I'll learn from my mistakes. But what is... Karen saying, let it be a warning to all the other politicians. We'll start calling people out as we see fit. We've got a big movement all around the country. You want votes? You've got to start being real. And I know you can't do it, so PISS off. Man, I'm saving myself push-ups here, I'm feeling good. Now, what's more concerning, guys, and this is extremely important, stick with me again. Senator Malcolm Roberts, Pauline Hanson, and their politician friend sellouts have allowed a bill to pass called the Defence Legislation Amendment Bill 2020. We've been set up big time. They do something with this hand, with the other hand, they're letting these bills pass that are screwing us over big time. This allows foreign troops onto our soil to deal with an emergency. Now guys, under this bill, this gathering here today, this protest, this gathering can and will be labelled as an emergency. This is what this bill allows. So they come onto our soil to deal with an emergency, use of force permitted, free, this is a kicker, free from civil and criminal liability. These guys have let this bill pass. Can they be on your team if they're putting bills through all this? No. I've got video footage of Malcolm Roberts on this very stage from a gathering earlier this year, in which I tell Malcolm that I'm very concerned and disappointed how he and the other senators have pushed this bill through. And his response was, and I quote, "We did it with pride because we're doing the right thing." On the count of three, what do we think about Malcolm and One Nation? 1, 2, 3. I think you heard that, brother. Your time's up. You're a sellout. Move on. Now, the worst thing is, the Green senators brought in some amendments to be made, such as we should put in a phrase that says no use of force permitted. That was voted down. They said we should not allow protests and public gatherings to be classified as emergencies. That was voted down. There's other clauses I can't remember off the top of my head. They were all voted down. The bill went through unchanged. If you think there's somebody that is allowing that bill to pass and he's on your side, wake up. Stop voting for these morons. Typical line politicians, and because of him and the others, we are now seeing foreign troops in Melbourne beating the crap out of our fellow countrymen. Who's seen the clip of the Land Cruiser in Melbourne where 3 men in khaki uniform exit the vehicle, bashed this young man who was posing absolutely no threat at all? Now, they only had the eyes showing. They had full face coverings on, khaki uniform. They had a Glock on their right hip. They were not police. Police don't dress like that. They were not Australian Defence Force. They don't carry weapons in our streets. They were 100% foreign troops, most likely private contractors, special ops. We're being done, guys. Wake up to what's going on. Brisbane is the last line of defence. Melbourne's gone. I don't know if we can get Melbourne back. Maybe in a decade. New South Wales is going. Melbourne and Sydney people are moving here. We're forming the last line of defence here now, guys. It's time to get serious about this. We're here for a reason. I want you to feel this in your body, guys. We're in a effing war. My 3-phase plan. I'm going to make it, I want to call it, I need you guys to turn up. It's bold, but if we have numbers, people take time off work. When I say take time off work, days and weeks. This is what it's going to take to get this done. I've got old school, experienced ex-military advisors, barristers of over 4 decades, true historians working with me from behind the scenes. We're coming up with this plan, and when it's time, this is the real drop. There's too many rallies that don't do anything, these guys. I want you to pay attention to TPR and what we're doing. There's too many little rallies trying to get their piece of the pie. It's not what it's about. We have to work towards a plan. From 2020, I've been building the numbers to use when we need them. And that's what these rallies are important, to build the numbers, and that's it. Alright guys, so back to how that all started. Putting pressure on our politicians will help, as will prosecuting corrupt politicians. All these things I've mentioned as a start will help in their own way to win this war. As I said earlier, in war, you need manpower. And today here, with us for the first time, is a group called Man Up.